And I think I'm going to do this in English. I'm based in Denmark, and I'm not yet fully fluent in Norwegian. So basically what I do is I have a very nice title, System Engineer Nordic. Basically that means everything between being an installation guy, helping customers doing proof of execution, proof of how we install the systems, making sure that they're up to date. I also do a lot of speaks, mostly together with Microsoft, but I do also cover the other video platforms that we support. But basically, when we look at the Nordics, we see more than 95% of all the installations that we do are basically with Teams. I do also have this really nice badge from Microsoft, MVP, which basically means besides my day job, I do a lot of additional stuff related to Microsoft. It's not a paid role, it's basically just an award we are giving for 1 year at a time. And then we need to keep on providing stuff, making sure to get out and speak, making sure to reply a lot of questions on the social media, basically on Microsoft technical stuff. So today we're going to look into some of the work styles that we have seen during the pandemic. When we look at it from our perspective, when talking with the different customers and organizations that we work with, we have seen different things. So let's start with what we saw in the office. So basically early in the pandemic, we just saw that people went out and bought USB devices, basically anything, because there was a limitation in stock of what was actually available. But the issue for the IT guys was that they didn't really know what was in the meeting rooms. They had no idea how to support it. Basically, it wasn't supported. But also they didn't know if it actually was working because no one had management or the responsibility to make them work. Then, after being home for a long time, sitting at home, working with Microsoft Teams on your laptop, we kind of get back to the office and we wanted to have a solution where it was easy to join the meetings, but still the same experience in the meeting rooms. So a lot of people updated their meeting rooms, adding native Teams rooms into the meeting rooms, making sure that they had a good experience. And now they also had the ability from the IT perspective to actually make sure it worked, because when you install a native Teams rooms, then you will get notification inside of the Teams admin center. If there's anything going wrong, if somebody unplugged the power, if somebody disconnect the microphones, then IT will get the notification about this specific room. Need to have some attention to make it work. Those who didn't do that, those who still work with the USB devices, basically had no idea if it worked. And when I talked to Microsoft last week in Barcelona, they told me, really honest, that Microsoft doesn't have Teams rooms in all their meeting rooms. They still have some rooms where it's just a simple USB device. They don't have any idea if it's working. They also told me that it more or less take around 30 days if a USB device in the meeting room breaks before the IT get the ticket or get the knowledge that this room is not working. Again, basically because nobody have either the ownership, doesn't support it. And that's a bit different where we do it in Poly HP now, is that even though it's just simple USB devices, you can still do management of the device. Even though there's no PC connected, we will be able to connect it to our management platform, make sure that it's updated, make sure it acts the way that we want it, both from the microphone perspective, the speakers, and also the camera. So I'm really happy about using the Teams rooms because it does give a better experience. But I also tend to see that a lot of people still have some few focus rooms, smaller rooms, where they still have just a single USB device. But choosing a Poly device, we will then be able to connected to Wi-Fi, making sure that it's updated, making sure it works as it's supposed to do. Now what we start to see is that post-pandemic, or at least on the way to post-pandemic, is that we now have that much knowledge from all our native meeting rooms that we actually know how it works. Our cameras can do people counting on all the rooms. So we know that a lot of people have rooms for around 12, maybe 15 people, but we tend to see that there's only maybe 4 to 6 people in the meeting rooms. So why not divide the meeting rooms, make it into 2 meeting rooms, and then optimize it for the right solution? So we can still collaborate with the people that sits at home. But now we also got more and more, we got more and more attention on audio. Back in the days, people always ask about the resolution of the camera, how much quality can we send? But basically that's not really important anymore, because the video feed is always that good that it's enough, but we don't really want to look at the people if we're not able to hear them. We can do a lot of things on the camera itself, but we can't make everything good if we walk into a meeting room which is not really acoustic good. So have that in mind when you upgrade meeting rooms. Make sure to get the right acoustics and even also the lighting, because light does make a better picture for the video camera. So what did we do at home? Early pandemic, a lot of people didn't even have a place where they could stand up and work. Somebody did that solution with the iron board. I thought it was a bit crazy to actually show the picture, and I did it just last week again. And the guys were laughing and said, "Oh, my colleague actually still does that every now and then." It works for some. It wouldn't work for me because I have so much stuff in my desk, so I need a lot more space. But what I then did was that I moved into an area where I had a bigger table, making sure I was able to have all my equipment nearby, making sure that I could work and get the things done. And then basically during the nighttime, then it was the dinner table. A lot of people are still working like that. I think what we need to think about now is that it will not be the good old days where all the people are in the meeting room. We always, or at least I always, add a Teams invite into every meeting. I might ask people to be on site, but if they're not able to be on site, then they would be able to join on Teams. So many times when we hire a new person, they get a phone, they get a PC, might even get a company car if it's needed. But a lot of people are still not getting a headset and a proper webcam. So in my last company, or my former employee, I know my people or my colleagues from this side, mostly. Because the laptop was out here and they were working at the big screen here. So at one point I took a snap of all the meetings, I circled all people that were sitting either like this or like this, because it was a laptop pointing up in their nose. I sent it to the CEO and asked, is this really how we want to present ourselves to the customers? He replied back, what do you mean? He didn't even realize it himself before I said, look at the faces. We always tend to look each other in the eyes when we are in person. We should do the same on video. So make sure to provide all the employees with a proper camera, a proper headset. Make sure that they get the best audio, the best video, to get that good experience when you talk with your colleagues, but of course also with your customers. So I'm a bit of a nerd. I always like high tech and good technology, so I thought I'd put this early in the presentation because we have some good stuff coming out. You're probably aware of that company called Apple having really nice earbuds. give a great audio to your ears, lousy quality to your colleagues, because the microphones are not optimized for having that conference. So, as I normally say, the Teams meetings will never be better than the one who joins with the worst audio, because that will make a lot of issues for the rest of the people. With this new device, we have the same form factor, but we added a lot of features because we got out and talked with a lot of organization, mostly in the Nordics, because we are kind of early adapters. And we asked them, so what would you like? What are the issues that you're seeing right now? And you know you have gestures on your Apple earbuds, and if you push one time, it does something. If you push 2 times, it does another thing. But sometimes you did it too fast or too slow, and then you disconnect the call. So we added a touch screen on the casing, which will now be a remote that you can place in front of you, making sure that you connect to the call, disconnect to the call, adjust your ANC, so how much do you want to hear of the environment. And we still have the ability to actually capture the audio, so it will only capture the audio from me and not the rest of the people in the room. We will also be able to connect to several devices, so we have the ability to connect up to 8 devices, but we can control 2 devices at the same time. So most of the people use the same headset for the PC and the phone, but we all got the experience that when we in a Teams call, got a phone call, and then it disconnect from the Teams call because now it's on the phone. But on the touch panel, we are actually able to make sure that we connect to the right device and make sure to adjust the way we want the headset to work. So basically, when there's a call, you can pick up the call. You can make sure that it takes the call to the right device if you want to do that. Still a nice form factor. You still have the ability to use your gestures on the headset itself, but it's so much easier when it's in front of you on the touch console. It might be a big box if you travel a lot, so we're also adding a smaller box, but then you don't have the touch panel on the top. So basically it's up to you to choose what device is right for you. Another thing that I like quite a lot, since I'm traveling a lot, so when I go into the flight, I usually plug in my earbuds and listen to some audio. But on longer travels, a lot of people would like to watch a movie. But now we can actually plug in the casing and then still use the headset wireless. So a new feature that we add, so it would make it possible to actually have wireless connection within the airplane and listening to the in-flight videos. Another thing that we released recently was a 10-inch touch display. It's not that sexy, to be honest, but we had a lot of requests where they wanted to have a larger touch display instead of the 8-inch that we have today. So we added the 10-inch. Until now, it's only Zoom certified. We are definitely going for the Teams certification as well. So it will be able to be delivered together with the Teams rooms on Android at first. Next step is then to have it as a Teams panel. So you will be able to see outside of the meeting rooms, are this meeting occupied or is this available? It has nice LED on the side, so it will be easy for the employees to see which meeting rooms are available. And now, since part of the HP family, we also added the D9 PC. We announced it Team certified last week. So this one will be the PC that we are moving forward with, making sure that we will be able to deliver both Windows and Android. So we have both, since it's the strategy for Microsoft. But basically also because there's a lot of, even though Microsoft say that they want to have like the same feature set on the devices, there's a different development cycles on Android and on Windows. So sometimes we will have features on Windows that are not available on Android. Other times, the feature will be available on Android first and then later come to the Windows-based model. So basically, when I heard about the HP stuff, I thought, oh, we're just going to take the Presence PC and then add it to our bundles. But basically, we didn't, because we wanted to have a PC with a long life cycle. So we added additional power. So this PC in the same price range, but still additional power compared to the other vendors out there, which means that we can have a longer life cycle. We added additional ports, which means that not as of now, but soon we will see Microsoft to add additional cameras into meeting rooms, and then we have it on the box already. So when we look at our room model, I would always choose a native room. We do support a lot of different video platforms. So in the top, I added the 3 most used in the Nordic. So of course, Microsoft Teams. We do also have Zoom devices, and we just announced Google as well on our Android-based devices. So the big difference between Android and Windows is that when you buy a Windows-based room system, it will be locked down to that video platform. If you buy an Android-based device, then you would be able to reset the device and swap it and move it into another video platform. So a lot of people like that ability to actually be flexible. Yes, I know we're on Zoom now. We are all going on Teams at some point. Then they can actually change the device into using Teams instead, still being native. Also on all Android-based devices, we have a bring your own device mode. Since we know a lot of customers are like still using multiple platforms. So it might be that the organization using Microsoft Teams, but every now and then they get invited to another video platform, and why not use the best audio, the best video from the meeting room, being able to plug in your HDMI and USB, and then still be able to use the equipment in the meeting room. Microsoft, Zoom, and Cisco WebEx also did like a joint feature where we can do direct guest join into each and every video platform. Although it have a bit of limitation, but it's a great feature to add. Doesn't cost you anything, simply just allow it in your platform and make sure to run the right PowerShell scripts to allow external bookings. So no matter which size of the meeting rooms, we always have an idea about what would fit best into that meeting room. So it will be easy for the organization to actually say, oh, I have this size of a meeting room. Which device should I choose? Well, we have all the insights of the products, how they work. We have an open site called spaces.poly.com. We will probably add HP into that somewhere. But here we had all different sizes of meeting rooms, different kind of solutions for Android, Windows-based PCs. You can choose the different size of the meeting room that you want to have. You can even go so far as you can have all the schematics. So that was the thing that I did a lot in my previous job, doing schematics for the resellers, making sure that all the cabling, all the right devices or boxes was in the bundle to make sure that the solution worked. But now we added that free of charge so everyone can go in there and see how we connect all the devices. We even go so far as we point out third-party devices that we know works. So if you need a USB switch, a USB extender, we have tested a lot of different products and we added those that we found most stable. Same size, different device, going into the signature room, as Microsoft now call it. Basically the front row experience. We do also have cameras and audio that will work in these devices or in these meeting rooms. So basically the signature room, I see more like a specialized meeting room where you want to create the right furnitures, making sure that they all front the screen, but also give it like a high level of quality into the meeting room, both on audio and video. From the management platform, I was also having this pain. Why should I have both Teams Admin Center, Azure portal? There's like 5 portals that I need to work in within Microsoft, and then I have an additional Poly management system. But when we talk with the organization on how they actually, differentiate the responsibilities, a lot of the IT guys are handling Teams Admin Center, and they don't want anyone else to get access to Teams Admin Center. So imagine that we do a large rollout, the IT set everything up, hand it over to facilities, say, here you go. Now you are in charge of the meeting rooms, but the facility have no clue if the devices are up and running, because everything is inside Teams Admin Center. So we can do management as well. We can do it on all platforms, no matter what. We can give access to third-party product, or not third-party products, but third-party people. So if you have another organization that do your support, you can give them access. I have access to a lot of our customers because they wanted me to look into the management portal, making sure that everything was set up correctly. So basically we can do like different groups, different sites, and then we can basically just put the device in there. And then by policy, the devices will reboot, making sure that it's in the right provider mode. The camera, the microphones and speakers are acting like we decided to do. If you want to do additional things, you can have what we call Poly Plus as of now, where you buy an additional 3 years agreement for service and support, and that will give you some additional features within PolyLens. So for instance, if you have ServiceNow, and you want that to create a ticket automatically, then we will be able to do it. Or you can send a notification by mail. Some of the things you can also do from Teams Admin Center, but then again, depending on if you got access to Teams Admin Center, we have that option of doing it. When we look at the audio, I think that is still the most important thing that we need to consider when we look at the meeting rooms. We can do something differently than most other vendors, is that we can set up an acoustic fence. So basically what it means is that we can make sure that we get the audio from the meeting table, but eliminate the sound outside. Not even outside of the meeting room, but still in the same room, but outside of the fence. So imagine if you got a coffee machine in the corner, there might be an open area where you still wanted to have a video conference. We will now be able to add this acoustic fence, making sure that we only get audio from the table. If you get outside of the fence, we will not send the audio to the find. It sounds a bit crazy, but when you experience it, it makes really, really good sense, because the people that we talk with that are remotely will get such a better experience, because we can make sure that we only send the audio that we want to have, and not the audio from people walking, door smacking, coffee cups and stuff like that, that are also sometimes part of the meeting room. You just need to keep in mind that we can't do everything on the devices, because like audio, that is bouncing around. Audio is not something that go in a direct line from me to you. It's basically bouncing all the way around. And if you look at the absorption of a window, it's basically just audio hitting the window, and then it will return to you. And I know a lot of architects are pretty happy about adding glass into all the meeting rooms, which for us is not really nice, but that's how it is. So the first thing that we did is actually we just added a polarized filter on our lenses, because our cameras have that intelligence of framing people. But should it frame a person that are mirrored in the glass? No, we don't want that, but it's difficult for the camera to understand. So we basically added a polarized filter that you can put on top of the camera, then making sure that there's no mirroring in the glasses. And we're also looking into enhancing the audio quality. So basically, when there's not good acoustic rooms, we will then be able to do some changes to that to make it a better experience. But a simple rule, if you're building a new meeting room, I would definitely go with acoustic panels. So I didn't bring a picture of my home office. It might be a bit more equipped than most, but I have acoustic panels all over my walls. A lot of cameras and lighting in the top. But a simple acoustic panel on 1x1 meter gives the same experience as a carpet on the floor. The easiest part to add acoustic panel, that will be in the ceiling. But if you only add it to the ceiling, then the audio will still be able to bounce around within the walls. So you need to think about still putting some, could be nice, acoustic panels down by the side, at least in that area where you talk. And then maybe also think about which steps should it have, so it will cancel out different frequencies. The thing that I'm going to end with, basically no products, but just an idea about how we actually set up a meeting room today. So this is how we normally would set up a meeting room. A table, people on each side, the screen in the end. But how does it look when you are remotely? It's really difficult to see the people that you should have that conversation with because they are sitting next to each other. Might be really close if there are more than just 4 people. But what if we just change the direction of the table? Then it would be a completely different experience because now they're facing the people that sit remotely. And it honestly does make a huge impact on how you discuss with the people remotely. Basically, before we were more talking with the people around the table, the remote participant was just out there listening. But when facing the participants remotely, we will actually have a conversation with them. Makes really good sense also when we think about Microsoft Front Row. So this is basically how Front Row would look today. So basically Front Row is just a layout that we can add to the Teams rooms on Windows. It will be added to Android very soon. But it will just take the picture from the meeting room and put it into one of the squares. And what we really think about is more about we want to have equality between the people that works remotely and the people that are in the meeting room. So how can we do that? So first of all, we actually do a framing of all the persons, which make better sense than we don't have a lot of areas of the meeting room where we don't have people. So we will narrow it down only to the people. And then we will do a framing of each person. Put it together into one video stream. Send it off to Microsoft. So we have around 4 or 5 cameras that does that already. We will add it to the rest of the cameras. We just want to make sure that it have a good quality all the way. So basically we are dragging the people forward into the Teams meeting. So it's easier to talk with them, making sure that we see all their body language. The next thing that we will do is then that still do framing of the group, frame each individual person, and then send it to Microsoft in individual video streams. So when Microsoft opens up for multi-stream as part of the IntelliFrame, then we would be able to put persons into Front Row and then removing the background, which will be the second step to remove the distractions behind you. Then we will actually have that experience of talking with the people that sit remotely, kind of making the experience of we are in the same room. So this is basically what Microsoft shows all the time. We are not there yet, but we will be soon. Just want to make sure that all our products are available and able to do this. But if you have maybe not an old camera, but a camera that doesn't have the ability to do that personal framing, Microsoft will be able to do that in the cloud. But since we have the original picture, original pixels to work with, we will always be able to provide a better picture that will look, more lifelike. So with that, thank you. If any questions, otherwise let's go to Thailand.